Well, Prime Minister, Mark, you're very welcome here at Downing Street. It's fantastic to have this opportunity to have you here so early on in your tenure. And the relationship between our two countries has always been strong to...
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Keir. Merci beaucoup pour cet accueil. We have a remarkable history, as you said, including through the G7, we can help.
Canada's newly appointed Prime Minister, Mark Carney, has made one thing very clear from day one. He's not interested in playing nice with Donald Trump. Instead of heading straight to Washington to establish terms with the world's most powerful leader, Carney is in Europe, looking for backup. At a time when Trump is slapping tariffs on Canadian goods almost weekly, Canada's leader is not at the table trying to de-escalate. He's in the UK, shaking hands, giving speeches, and trying to build alliances against America's economic pressure. It's not just a diplomatic choice, it's a calculated message. Carney is snubbing Trump, plain and simple. Trump has made no secret of his stance. America first, everyone else second. That includes Canada. From steel and aluminium tariffs to automotive parts to threats against Canadian agriculture, Trump is turning up the heat. And what's Carney doing? He's not pushing back directly. He's not even engaging. He's ignoring it. He's choosing London over Washington, as if tariffs are just an inconvenience to be dealt with later. But every day he delays, Canadian businesses lose money, factories slow down, and industries bleed. Farmers, manufacturers, exporters, they're all caught in the middle of a growing economic slugfest, while their own Prime Minister appears more focused on photo ops with EU officials than defending Canada's economic lifeline with the US. Carney's trip to Europe is clearly more than routine diplomacy. It's a search for allies, a move to build a united front against Trump's protectionist trade policies. He's hoping the UK and EU will stand with him in pushing back, but Europe has its own problems and its own interests. They're not going to jeopardize their own relations with Washington just to protect Canada from American tariffs. Trump is not going to sit back while Carney shops for friends in Brussels and London. If anything, this will make the White House hit back even harder.
Trump on Truth Social talking about an extra 50% tariff on Canada, aluminum and steel. This is an additional tariff, he says. He calls it a 25% tariff on electricity coming into the United States. So clearly the turmoil still hitting markets.
Donald Trump has just dropped a hammer on Canada's economy with sweeping new tariffs. 50% on aluminium and steel, and a 25% tariff on electricity being exported from Canada into the US. This isn't just tough trade policy, this is economic warfare, and it's targeted directly at Canada's core industries. Industries that can't survive without access to the US market. And the timing couldn't be worse. While Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney is in Europe trying to win favour with the EU and UK, Trump is hitting him where it hurts, on home soil. Canada's aluminium and steel sectors are some of the largest in the world, with most of their output heading straight to the United States. These aren't side industries, they're pillars of the Canadian. Now, with a 50% tariff slapped on every ton of metal, Canadian producers are suddenly uncompetitive. American companies won't touch Canadian supply at that price. That means factories will cut production. Thousands of jobs in Ontario and Quebec are at risk. Investors will flee unsure of what's coming next. And once those orders stop coming in, plants will close. What took decades to build, Trump is crushing in weeks. Trump didn't stop with metal. He's now targeting Canadian electricity, imposing a 25% tariff on energy exports that feed into the American grid, especially in northern US states. Canada is a massive energy supplier to the US, from hydroelectric power in Quebec and Manitoba to cross-border grid sharing in the Pacific Northwest. These are long-standing partnerships based on affordability. Now, that energy just got 25% more expensive. US buyers will look elsewhere, contracts will fall apart, and Canada's energy sector will take a direct hit. This could mean power companies losing key export revenue, provincial governments facing major budget shortfalls, spikes in domestic energy costs if supply chains shift, This is no longer just about trade. Trump is dismantling Canada's economic backbone piece by piece.
Carney talking tough.
Look, we can stand up for ourselves. It's Canada strong. We can stand up for ourselves. We've called out those comments. They will have to stop before we sit down and have a conversation about our broader partnership with the United States.
But also some economic realism from the former central banker.
There is a limit, full stop. There is a limit to matching these tariffs dollar for dollar, given the fact that our economy is...
Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney finally spoke up, saying that Canada won't be bullied by the United States. On the surface, it sounded defiant, but beneath the bravado, he quickly admitted the harsh reality. Canada's economy is just 1/10 the size of America's, and going head-to-head with Trump isn't a fight he can win alone. That contradiction says it all. Carney is talking tough in public, but behind closed doors he's scrambling for help. This week he met with Prince Charles and French President Emmanuel Macron, looking for support, solidarity, and any form of leverage against Trump's aggressive tariffs. These weren't routine diplomatic handshakes. These were meetings rooted in desperation. Carney is trying to form an economic alliance against Trump because he knows Canada can't hold the line on its own. While he claims Canada will stand up for itself, his actions show he's already leaning on Europe to do the heavy lifting. Trump isn't just bluffing. He's already imposed a 50% tariff on Canadian steel and aluminium, and a 25% tariff on electricity exports. These are direct hits to Canada's economy. And while Carney says Canada won't be bullied, the truth is he's in no position to strike back with equal force. He knows that, the markets know that, and more importantly, Trump knows that. By rallying with figures like Macron and Prince Charles, Carney is clearly trying to frame the situation as Trump erst the rest of the world. He wants the EU and UK to join forces with Canada, push back against the tariffs, and put diplomatic pressure on the White House. But the risk is clear. Europe has its own problems, and leaders like Macron aren't going to throw themselves into an economic war with the US just to save Canada's trade flow. Mark Carney says Canada won't be bullied. But right now, that's all it is. Talk. While Trump throws punch after punch, Carney is calling for help, meeting with monarchs and hoping alliances will do what his government can't. But in the meantime, Canadian workers are losing contracts, businesses are freezing operations, and trust in leadership is wearing thin. If Carney wants to prove Canada won't be bullied, he needs more than press statements and royal visits. He needs results. Because diplomacy is fine, but when your factories are shutting down and your power exports are being taxed into oblivion, words won't pay the bills, action will.